Welcome to the video introduction to Principles of Microeconomics, the summer course at Rutgers University on the Camden campus for the first term. And the purposes of this video is just to give you a brief introduction, number one, of myself, but also I'll go over briefly the syllabus and important items that are on the syllabus, and also to go over a few things, a few pointers that you might say that I think you would need to know taking this course. So again, this is a summer session. It's the first term. The ID number for the course is 50220-102A1, and the index number is 03511. I have office hours. My office is in Armitage Hall, room 332. I don't know exactly when the office hours are going to be yet. I haven't gotten any definitive answer from the department as to what the policy is for online summer classes and what the requirements are for on-site office hours for online classes. So I will post an updated syllabus that has more information with this. I know that during the fall and the spring sessions, even with online classes, faculty members are required to have on-site office hours. So I haven't gotten a definitive answer as to what the policy is for the summer. The phone number that you can reach me at is 856-225-6136. That's the Economics Department phone number. So if there's issues where you can't email, that's the best place to leave a message for me. And my email is pascal@camden.rutgers.edu. Make sure, number one, that you get the appropriate textbook. We're using Principles of Microeconomics by Case, Fair, and Oster. That's Pearson Publishing, the 11th edition. I highly recommend that you get the electronic version of the textbook. That includes the access code for my Econ Lab. The majority of this course is going to occur in my Econ Lab, and I recommend that you get that e-text and the access code. They're fairly well integrated with one another. You can access the e-text, etc. From my Econ Lab. So I would highly recommend it. I think the cost is roughly $105, which I don't think is too extravagant. I know that some of the textbooks new run for you get a paper version over $200. So that would be my recommendation to you for that. Again, I didn't neglect to introduce who I am. You should know my name is Professor Guy Pascal. I have a bachelor's degree in economics and a master's degree in economics. I got the bachelor's degree from Rutgers Camden and the master's degree from Rutgers New Brunswick, and I have taught on the Rutgers University system for over 22 years now. So just to be aware of that. Overview of the course. We're going to go over a few things that are important, but the initial thing that's going to be important is the issue of scarcity and the trade-offs that we make whenever we make a decision, the trade-offs that occur when we make a decision. And we're going to use something called the Production Possibilities Frontier for this. So make sure that when you go through that chapter, I believe it's in chapter 2, that you go through the Production Possibilities Frontier, that you understand the Production Possibilities Frontier, specifically how it illustrates the concept of trade-offs. After that, we're going to be looking at how markets operate. Particularly, we're going to look at supply and demand. And in the course, we look at each component individually. So we'll look at demand, why demand looks the way it is, what causes the demand curve to shift. We do the same thing for supply, and then we'll define what an equilibrium is. And from there, what's going to be important is that you understand how, if any of the factors that influence demand or supply change, how that impacts the equilibrium in the marketplace. Also, we'll take a look at some applications of supply and demand analysis that have some real-world applications. So hopefully it'll stress that how this type of analysis can actually be used. So I believe that would be the end of the first week that the items that we're looking at. Next, we're going to look at the concept of elasticity, and this is an important concept in economics, understanding how, for example, we look at the price elasticity of demand, how price changes impact quantity demanded, and also how different products, commodities, goods, etc., have different price elasticities of demand. Some are very responsive to changes in price, while others don't respond very much to changes in price. So we're going to take a look at that. We'll look at the cross-price elasticity of demand and the income elasticity of demand, i.e. for income elasticity, how changes in income impact quantity demanded. And for cross-price elasticity, we're looking at how the price of one product can impact the quantity demanded of another product. For example, if Coca-Cola were to lower or were to change their price, how would that impact the quantity demanded of Pepsi? So that's an important thing that we're going to take a look at. And we're actually, some of the things you'll be doing, you have to interpret what these results mean, actually sometimes calculating these actual elasticities and give an interpretation to what they actually mean. Then we're going to look at household behavior, consumer choice, and profit maximization. In essence here, we're going to move looking at some fundamental concepts in economics, i.e. we're going to talk about and hopefully learn about utility maximization and the process of utility maximization and what are the utility maximizing conditions, and the same thing for profit maximizing for the firm. So this is an important item because in particular if you're going into business and you're going to be concerned with profit maximization, understanding the profit maximizing condition is very, very important. Also, we're going to take a look at the costs of a firm and how economists break costs up into different components. The two main components are going to be fixed cost and variable costs. It's important to understand the distinction between these two, and we're going to spend a decent amount of time in the course distinguishing between them and giving examples of each of those. And then we're also going to take a look at the difference between costs in the short run versus costs in the long run. It's important to realize that when an economist talks about the short run and the long run, it's not really a defined time frame, but it depends on how variable the inputs you are. For example, in the short run, what occurs is that we will talk about only one input being variable, i.e. that workers, the number of workers that you have, labor is a variable input in the short run. In the long run, all inputs are variable. So not only is it the size of your labor force, but the amount of capital, how many plants that you have, how much machinery, etc. And we'll take a look at that and take a look at how that impacts the decisions that are faced by firms. After that, we're going to take a look at probably the most important component of the course is we're going to look at the full spectrum of competition in marketplaces. We're going to start off with the competitive ideal, perfect competition, the most competitive marketplaces. Then we're going to take a look at monopoly, which is the least competitive of marketplaces. And we're going to take a look at the assumptions of each and how that impacts the type of analysis that's done in each of those market structures. Additionally, we'll take a look at oligopoly and monopolistic competition and make sure you realize that if you understand perfect competition and monopoly well, you should be able to understand oligopoly and monopolistic competition because in essence they're a synthesis of perfect competition and monopoly. So it's important that you understand, and the thing I want you to realize about this course is even though a lot of the stuff we do is not going to be cumulative, you still have to understand the concepts that appear in previous portions of the course. So for example, if you understand perfect competition and monopoly and the distinction between the two, it should be very easy to understand oligopoly and monopolistic competition. Also, the fact that we are looking at different forms of competition, having a good understanding of the supply and demand analysis we did previously is very, very helpful. After that, we'll take a look at the demand for land, labor, and capital, the different markets for labor and capital, and how they differ and how the analysis for each is slightly different. And then finally, we're going to take a look at externalities, public goods, and social choice. Externalities are costs or benefits that occur in a marketplace that don't involve people directly in that transaction. So for example, the example I always give about externalities is secondhand smoke is an externality. That's a negative externality. But there's also positive externalities. Public goods, make sure you understand what a public good is and how it's different from private goods, and social choice of voting process in a democracy. And finally, we're going to just take a look at income distribution and poverty and policies that relate to that. Realize that the course is divided into 4 sections. We have 4 weeks, so I refer to them as modules. So module 1 is week 1, module 2 is week 2, etc. Each module, we have a test online, and there's homeworks and quizzes that occur. Please realize that I have the deadlines for all of them at the end of the week. I'm not going to have deadlines on a Monday and a Tuesday and a Thursday and a Wednesday or Wednesday and then a Thursday, etc. The reason why I chose to do it this way, to keep it open for the entire week, is my concern is that there are some people in the class that might be working a full-time job and taking this class and imposing, for example, saying week number 1 is due Tuesday night, week number 2 is due, chapter 1 is due Tuesday night, chapter 2 is due Wednesday night, chapter 3 is due Thursday night, etc. Might be an over bit of hardship for people who are working and trying to take this class. Realize that because of this, you should not delay and wait to do the assignments and do all your work until the weekend. If you wait until the weekend to try and cram in all the work for that particular week, you probably will not do very well. All right, it's going to be near impossible for somebody to spend their Saturday and Sunday doing all the assignments for the week and taking the test for the week. Also, the thing I want to point out to you about how the class is set up, I would strongly advise students to complete the homeworks and the quizzes and work through the study plan before the weekend. The reason for this is that you can do the homeworks and the quizzes as many times as you want. You can work through them, perfect your grade, etc. The homeworks you can only work on, the test you can only work on 3 times. And the highest grade that you get on that test is what's going to count towards your final grade for the course. Make sure you take the opportunity to leave yourself enough time that you can, for example, take the test on a Friday. Get feedback. That information that you do on that test, the first taking, it will feed back into your study plan. And it will tell you, if you go back and work the study plan for the chapters that are covered on that test, it will clue you in on items that you need to work on. So it will feed back what you got wrong on the test and move that into the study plan. And then you can work the study plan to work on the concepts that you didn't understand and then take the test again and hopefully improve your grade. So you can think of it as an iterative process. Make sure you avail yourself of that study plan. It's in Sakai. I'm sorry, not Sakai. It's in my Econ Lab. All right? And make sure that you work that. The one thing I've noticed in my brief time teaching online classes, is that when I use my Econ Lab, many students do not avail themselves of the study plan. The study plan is a very powerful tool for learning within my Econ Lab. It provides you with feedback to what you're not understanding and allows you to work on it and allows to improve your knowledge and improve your excuse me there, the computer's wigged out a little bit, allows you to improve your knowledge and improve your scores. So make sure you avail yourselves and work through the study plan. All right, it's a powerful tool and it should help you learn more and do better in the course. All right, I had a number of students last semester that no matter how many times I told them, work the study plan, they didn't bother working the study plan. So the information I got is the people who worked the study plan ended up getting a better grade in the course. So make sure you avail yourself of that study plan. And also make sure you take some time that first week to work your way through my Econ Lab just to familiarize yourself with it. If you've never used my Econ Lab before, it's fairly straightforward, but make sure you work yourself through that so you understand all the functions that are available to you. So make sure, number one, that in taking the course that you do not wait till the very last minute to do all this. You will do poorly. Make sure you do the homeworks and quizzes before the weekend and leave the weekend for you to take the tests and then work the study plan as your own personal study guide for retaking the test. All right? Now, I know some of you will probably do what other students have done for this course. Some students I see, they take the test, finish it, and a minute later they take it a second time, and they finish it, and a minute later they take it a third time, and they're just hoping that by random chance they'll just get a higher grade. That's a strategy. It's I don't know how viable of a strategy it is, but make sure that you avail yourself of the fact that the study plan will allow you to get feedback on what you don't know on the tests. And then you can work on those items and use that as a study. I like to think of the homeworks themselves as the tests as an iterative process. Take the test once, see what you don't understand, work on it, study that stuff, work through it, and take it again. And then you can decide. After the second one, if you're happy with your grade, don't bother doing it. But if you're still not happy with the grade you get after your second taking of the test, work through the study plan. But make sure you leave yourself enough time to avail yourself of that tool. It's very, very important that you do this. All right, let me go through a couple other items here. Make sure with the grading, as you can see, 18 homeworks, 18 quizzes. There are also 3 forum assignments. I will go through those in detail. They are located in Sakai. This is a policy of Rutgers that if you're going to use My Econ Lab, you have to have the forum assignments in Sakai. I'm just following policy here, and 4 tests. All right, you'll get immediate feedback. The syllabus says you'll get feedback within 24 hours. As soon as you finish any item, you get feedback on those items. So when you get a test, you will find out what you got wrong, and you can go back to the study plan and work those items. All right, as I said, homeworks and quizzes, you could do it an unlimited number of times, and the highest score counting towards your final grade. The quizzes have a time limit of 30 minutes. Tests you can take 3 times, highest grade counting towards your final grade for the course, and there's a 120-minute time limit on the tests. As I said, there are forums in Sakai. Basically, there are questions that I post there or observations that I posted about items, so we can have some level of interactivity in the course. With an online course, it's difficult to have a level of interactivity, and just doing things in My Econ Lab would make it seem too much like a old-time correspondence course. You guys probably never even heard of a correspondence course, but a long time ago you could take what was, non-traditional college credits, where you would be given assignments and then you would mail those assignments in, somebody would grade them, and you would get a particular grade. We try to avoid that, so with the forums, I'm going to post ideas, comments, things I've seen. These are to take the place of discussion in class. The way they are set up, and make sure you understand this, is that you can post something on the forum, and I will read it. I might respond to it and ask you additional questions, etc., but you will receive a grade. But if you continue to post, or if you comment on somebody else's post in the forums, that your grade goes up. So you don't, once you receive a grade, it's not your final grade for the forum, that particular forum, until the forum has closed out. So make sure you realize that. And I stress that you should probably post something early in the week, because it would give you the opportunity, it gives me the opportunity to read it, comment on it, ask you an additional question, I give you a grade, and then if you come back and address my question, and then I adjust the grade after that. So make sure you realize that it's an iterative process on the forums, and because it's iterative and it closes at the end of the week, posting early is better for you, because then you'll get feedback on your grade. Any kind of comments that I have, you can address, or if you're not happy with your grade and you want to improve your grade on the forum assignments, the forum posts, you can address that. You could start your own forum if you like, etc. So make sure you realize that if you post something on a Monday and you get a grade, that's not the grade you're going to get. That's the grade you'll get if you don't post anything additionally from that point. So make sure you avail yourselves of that. Now, I know some students will not listen. They'll wait till Sunday night at 11 o'clock to post something. If you post something at 11 o'clock, you'll get credit for it. But if it's not a very good post, if it's incoherent, if I don't know what you're talking about, etc., you'll not have any time for me to read it, give you feedback, and allow you to improve that grade. So make sure when you do the forum post, as you can see, the forums are only, if you read the syllabus, the forums are only worth 5%. All right, the homework assignments are worth 30, the quizzes are worth 30, and the tests are worth 35%. The forums are 5%. So I don't expect you to spend a great deal of time, but I do expect you to at least be organized, have a good response to the forum, etc. Grading follows normal patterns. You have to have a greater than or equal to a 90 to get an A, 85 to 90 for a B+, 80 to 85 for a B, etc. Realize too, if you read the syllabus, and I strongly advise you to read the syllabus, mostly because most questions I get from students during the semester are already answered in the syllabus. And you have to realize one thing. I run my own business. All right. I do this on a part-time basis. I've been doing it on a part-time basis for 22 years. So my perspective is as a business owner. All right. So for example, a lot of times I look at this that if the syllabus is your assignment for the next 4 weeks, and if you were my employee and I gave you a detailed itemization of the things I wanted from you and my expectations from you, and you emailed me and asked the question that I already answered in your instructions, I would think very lowly of you as an employee. That's probably the best way to put it. All right, so make sure you read the syllabus and have a good understanding. If you have a question and you're not sure, check the syllabus first before you email me. It's a good practice to get into. Again, this is supposed to prepare you for working in the labor force, and if you have a boss, and if you have a boss like me who has very high expectations, that if you're continually asking your boss questions that have already been answered by them, let's just say if that were me, you would be an ex-employee, probably is the best way to put it. So make sure that you do that you read the syllabus, and if you have anything, you have a question, refer to the syllabus first before you contact me. I don't mind answering the questions, but generally, I don't get too snippy in the emails, but generally I will put something like, as it says in the syllabus on page 2, paragraph this, blah, 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 blah. All right, that's about as snippy as I get on my emails, especially when somebody asks me something that's already been answered. Deadlines, the other thing is, as I said, I run my own business, so I think deadlines are very important. For me personally, if I miss deadlines, I don't get paid, all right? Or I get contracts canceled, worth money out of my pocket. So deadlines have very real consequences for me. Additionally, when I talk to people who I do consulting work, one of the main complaints they have about graduates from the last 5 years is that many newly graduated individuals who enter the labor force oftentimes think that deadlines are meaningless. So I don't want you to get the impression that deadlines don't mean anything. All right, if you start getting into the practice of meeting your deadlines now, when you go in the labor force and you get into the job market, that's a skill that will help distinguish you from other students that are graduating with you. So make sure you realize that. Now, I'm not a complete hard ass when it comes to deadlines. If you email me prior to a deadline, I will extend your deadline by 1 day free. No penalty whatsoever, no questions asked. It don't matter to me why. All right, maybe you couldn't get your homework, your stuff done because you went out drinking all weekend and couldn't do it. I don't care. I could care less. As long as you email me prior to a deadline, I will give you 1 day free. All right, so make sure you remember that. However, if you ask for an extension after the deadline, you will receive it, but there are very strict penalties that relate to this, and make sure you read this portion of the syllabus. So if you email me the day after and say, I didn't do this homework, can I get an extra day? And you send it to me the day after it's due, I will open it up for you. But the penalties are 30% for the first 24 hours that it's late, and then 10% for each additional 24-hour period. Realize that I said 24 hours. That means if something's due at 11:59 p.m. and you send me an email at 12:05 in the morning, the next 6 minutes later, you've already got a 30% penalty on your submission. So make sure you realize that you will be penalized heavily for being late, and the longer you are late, the more severe the penalty gets. So make sure, if you think you're going to be late, ask me for an extension. I will extend it by 24 hours, no questions asked whatsoever. However, if you do ask for a 1 day extension and then you miss that deadline, your penalty starts at 40% and increases by 10% for every 24-hour period. Also, once you're late 7 days, whatever it is, you get a 0. All right, I was very surprised when I first started teaching online classes where students would be 2 weeks late for an assignment and then ask for an extension. Okay, think of that in the business world. If you had an important deadline and you missed it and didn't bother telling your boss, and then you told him 2 weeks later, oh, I didn't get that done. Can I get it done now? You wouldn't look like a very good employee. In my eyes, you wouldn't be an employee. All right? I'm joking a little bit about that. I mean, I could be, when you run your own business and, not getting things done takes food off your table. You have a tendency to make sure that you meet your deadlines. Also realize that if something goes wrong, okay, you're sick, you're in a car accident, I'll make special accommodations under those circumstances, but you have to give me appropriate documentation. Something from a doctor, for example, an accident report, etc., are going to be necessary in order for that to occur. So realize that if you're legitimately sick and you can provide me with documentation, I will work for you. Additionally, all right, if you send me an email, make sure that you identify the course in your subject heading or in the body of the email. All right, I have to tell you, it's very difficult, especially not so much over the summer, but in the fall. If I get an email from a student saying, I'm in your class, and, well, which class? All right, imagine if you sent something to your boss and you're saying, I missed something, and that your boss doesn't know what it relates to. You have to clearly explain that to me. And this is important too, because this is another thing that when I talk to business owners, the emails that they get are incomplete emails from newly graduated students. So make sure you realize that the best way to think about it is that I'm a complete dummy. I have no idea what class you're in. I might not even know what classes I'm teaching, all right? But make sure that you state, I am in this class. This is the problem that I'm having, and make sure it's in professional correspondence. One thing I have difficulty with is students sending me emails and I have no idea what they're talking about. There's incomplete sentences, run-on sentences. It makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. All right? Realize, too, that I strive to get back to students within 24 hours of any email. That's my own personal goal. I think the school policy is 48 hours. I think 48 hours is a little bit too long. So realize that if you send me an email, I will do I want to say damnedest, but generally 99% of the time you will get a response back within 24 hours. Now, sometimes the response might be, I don't have the information in front of me. I can't give you an answer, but I will get back to you later tonight. For example, I might be out working with a client, check on my iPhone, my email from Rutgers, and you have a question about something that I don't have access to. So I might email you back and say, I don't have that information in front of me. I'll get back to you later. All right, but you will get a response, and hopefully it'll be prompt enough. In conclusion, make sure, number one, you realize the due dates, the fact that you can get a one-day extension as long as you request that extension before the due date. It is your responsibility to request an extension. All right. The way I have this set up is I have to physically go in and change the due dates for students. I like to keep track of the students who are late. And, if I go through one semester, I had one course where a student was late for 90% of the assignments that they were due for. Okay, that just to me tells me quite a bit about a student if you miss that many deadlines. So realize it's not automatic. You have to request it, and I will give those extensions to you. So realize that if you ask for an extension ahead of time, you get 1 day free. If you ask for an extension after the due date, the penalties automatically apply, and the penalties get more severe the longer it takes you to complete that. And also make sure, again, and I can't stress too much to you how important that study plan is. The study plan is a very powerful tool for learning. As I told you, especially with the tests. So when you read each chapter, go through the study plan, work items. If there's things you don't understand, you can work the study plan as many times as you like. All right? But especially when it comes to the tests, it's a built-in study guide for you. And avail yourselves of the fact that you can take those tests 3 times each, and the highest grade will count towards your grade for the course. I recommend not waiting to the very end to take the test or waiting to the very end to do all your assignments. It's a surefire way of doing poorly in the class. So make sure you avail yourselves of that and leave yourself enough time to take advantage of it. Okay? Even if the first attempt is a throwaway attempt. If you take it on a Friday, you'll still get feedback as to what grade you got, and that information that you got wrong will feed back into the study plan so you can work the study plan for Chapter 1. For example, in the first test, you can work the study plan for Chapter 1, and it'll help you work the stuff that you got wrong in Chapter 1. And then you work the study plan for Chapter 2, which will help you do things that you got wrong that were on the test from Chapter 2, etc., etc., etc. So make sure you avail yourselves of that. Again, I know some of you will just take the test, finish it, take it again, finish it, take it again. There's nothing I can do to prevent people from doing that. But I strongly advise against that, and I strongly advise against not using the study plan. Use the study plan. It is a very helpful item for people to do well in this course.